Okay, we're coming at you from the future.
We have a little something to share, to tell you, because we had a little
technical difficulty. We're going to call it a technical difficulty.
So the episode that you're about to hear, it might not sound exactly the same as what you're used to.
Yeah, it's not as crispy clean. And I think it sounds fine and not 100% normal, but it sounds fine.
Absolutely. You'll be able to hear it just fine.
And it has information that we really think will be valuable and helpful. So we're putting it out into the world. We hope you enjoy this episode. If it totally grates your ears and you're not into it, we'll see you Tuesday.
That's right. Okay. See you on Tuesday. Or see you now.
Wait, yeah, see you now.
Okay. Enjoy.
Hi.
Hello.
And welcome to EpiPod. Sarah is a mom to 2 little boys with food allergies.
And Danielle has navigated life-threatening allergies her entire life.
Living with an invisible health condition is so isolating.
The fear and the anxiety.
Trying to cover it up so you don't affect anybody else.
Especially your kids.
Phew.
Sound familiar?
Join us on the couch and take a load off with people who just get it.
We're so glad you're here.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey, Danielle.
We are in the double digits of EpiPod.
Ooh, it's really fun.
It's really fun. Thank you guys so much for being here, for your messages, for your reviews. It all means so much. Yes, it's so fun to read those. And then also it does go a long way to help this algorithm shoot it to more people who might really get something from the podcast.
I feel like we're finally reaching new people, like people who didn't follow our journeys prior to EpiPod being created, which is exciting to see.
It really is.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I think that we're just getting into a swing of things with Graham's dosing right now. And of course, it's like right before, we have less than a month before we go back out to California for treatment and sort of challenge and updose things.
Trying to not get sick.
Yes, we only have 2 buffer days, which that's basically days that, you can, if something happens and you can't dose, but you can still finish the cycle the way it was designed if you have buffer days left. But if you don't, then there's a chance you'd have to reschedule your entire trip, which is horrible.
Sarah, your child has PTO.
I know, yes, he does.
At the age of
this child, he's had to grow up fast.
Yeah.
Things kind of have to. But yeah, I think things are pretty good for me. And we're hearing laughing.
I think there's some sort of our studio next door. And I'm always picturing them slamming play down or something.
Or maybe hammering something into the wall and
Maybe you should go make art after this.
That sounds great. Although then you'd be worried about
allergies
and what's in the paint and what's in the clay. We don't know.
Yeah.
Because that's allergy life. That's what I'd be worried about if I was sending my child to an art class. That's
totally.
so damn sure.
I will say, I've never had any run-ins with art stuff. Thankfully, I feel like nuts are pretty rare in art stuff, not impossible. I'm a very I was a big art camp girl growing up. Love a DIY project now. You better believe I'm
all ingredients is well, Graham is in a little summer camp, and it's kind of like a STEM techie camp.
That's so mark coded.
Yeah, exactly.
Her husband's an engineer.
Yes. Yeah. And
right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah. He's flip flopped what he does because he can do that. Because he's smart. I'm he's STEM. Yes. But you're a STEM person for sure, Mark. But Graham was in this camp and they have all these little activities. Mm-hmm. And one of them last week, they didn't think it out beforehand. And it was mixing crushed up Oreos into yogurt. And he's allergic to dairy. So I feel eggs are in a lot of paint. Mm-hmm. So if you're allergic to eggs, that's a big one. And then milk isn't random products.
Milk isn't the weirdest thing. It's dental things.
I know.
Walnut shells are too.
Yeah, that's true.
I
they're scrubby things or ant kill it.
Oh my god, the peanuts are always in ant poison.
Yeah. But yeah, so they were great about it actually, and they kind of took him to the side and they did a really fun special thing with him. And he was his favorite part of the week, so he was fine. But it was also a learning lesson of okay, we have to I did tell you that it's not just food we need to worry about, but when you don't live it every day, people forget. And so
I'm glad that they were the ones who found it and found the solution.
Yes,
and I feel I've talked about this a lot before, but maybe behind the scenes, like what parents see. When I was growing up, it was like, oh, we have to do something special for her, or like different. She has to be different.
Yeah.
But in my head, it was always like, I got to do something 300 times cooler, and it's because I'm special.
Yes. And I think he definitely, at least that day, felt that for sure. But anyway, how are you?
I'm great. I'm going to a cabana.
And that's just like by a pool, I assume.
Yeah, a couple of friends and I are going to go lay by a pool on casually on Thursday. It's like some new hotel opening or something.
That sounds really
I started needle pointing. I as I age, I've just more and more become my mother.
You are ice skating, you are needle pointing, you are cabanaing.
Yeah.
Your life is wonderful. Can we trade sometime?
I'm going ice skating tomorrow. You can come.
Yeah.
Bring the boys.
Oh my gosh, they would love it.
It would be hilarious.
Oh yes. We would disturb you greatly though.
No, I would not be disturbed. I barely know what I'm doing. I go once a month and I call myself the goose gator.
Yeah.
But I promised a story. Last time, I left people on a cliffhanger.
Oh my gosh, yes, no, the airplane. Okay, we need to do that.
So the last time I flew home to El Paso, on the way there, I fly once or twice a month, and I grew up traveling a lot, from infancy. So planes and food on planes has always been something I'm aware of, but I'm afraid of. Until Fruit Ninja COVID days. However, that is nothing there. So I started getting a lot of comments on my TikTok videos, just being oh my gosh, do you talk to the passengers around you? And I was yeah, actually, I started to. I didn't growing up as a child. And people are oh, I feel so self-conscious, or the times that I have, it has gone really poorly. And I was oh my gosh, I'm really sorry to hear that. That has never happened to me. So I started recording it just to show people, I don't know, similar to my food challenges. It can be make you feel less of a stigma if you're oh, look, she does it. And I also like her outfit and she's fun and whatever. Mm-hmm. So I lean forward and the people in front of me, they're hunched over eating. And I was hi. And as they turn around, they have peanut butter M&Ms and peanut, of course. And I was oh, okay, actually, I have a severe peanut allergy. And I was just going to ask if you were planning on eating any snacks with nuts, but you already are. No problem. I'm just going to move just to be extra safe. And she was oh, no, worry. I'm
don't spit.
Don't go. Yeah. So I'm it's fine. It's cool. You're fine. It's fine. I got my dog. He's what the heck is happening? Now we're in the B or C group. This is no longer pre-boarded. I'm fighting for a window seat, which for some reason my dog does better in. So I want to sit. I think he's just less disturbed with the people going by. So I sit on the window seat, very back of the plane. I'm wiping down. We are getting close to having to push back from the gate. And these people in front of me board and sit down pretty soon after I change my seat. And I just had the thought, which is just my intuition, I think, my 30% psychic. Those are people who look like they eat a lot of nuts. You know those people that just look like that? These people look like somebody who just loves to buy a bag of nuts on their way out of Cracker Barrel. Like a grandma, grandpa vibe.
Yeah.
But a spicy one. I was on the way to West Texas. They're getting a range up. So I'm they'd have this conversation. So I leaned forward and do the full, just wondering if you were planning to eat anything. If not, whatever. He turns around and he's are you kidding me? Screaming. The whole plane, it's chaos, but people are already turning their heads. Are you kidding me? You have got to be kidding me. Diane, she says I can't eat nuts. I was oh, actually, that's not what I said. I actually have, now I'm talking to the wife who's her ears are being blown out. I was I actually have a very severe nut allergy, all nuts, peanuts and tree nuts. And so I was going to ask if you were planning to eat any so that I had the opportunity to move if you did. Right. Well, you're just going to need to move. Okay? You're just going to need to move because I'm planning on eating these nuts. Pulls out the nuts and is now shaking the bag in my face. And you're in close quarter. This thing is right here. I'm all it would take is for that zipper to, and I am possibly not wanting to fly anymore because I'm not wanting to wipe myself off or whatever.
I mean, and it's in hindsight, I'm so mad and thinking of all the things I could say back, but when you're in that moment,
oh my God,
you're just so blindsided by someone's horribly rude attitude.
I felt like my stomach was going to come out of my
But
my mouth. Like just like I had never been spoken to that way.
yeah, I mean,
Or like, and I felt threatened. And actually, I had spoken to the flight attendants when I first boarded as a pre-boarder, and the flight attendant was like, "Oh, thanks so much for telling us. I actually have a peanut allergy too."
okay.
And I was
So you have someone on your team.
yes. So this man was like still like going on and on, telling like, "I can't believe you have the right to try and tell me what I can and cannot eat." I'm like, I can only imagine who and what you were online and offline during the pandemic. I'm like, we didn't know what to do, and some people had different comfortability than other people. Like the most unempathetic, unnecessarily aggressive, whatever.
Yes.
So now flight attendant with the nut allergy zooms by. Actually, they had already made an announcement, but it was like before they had boarded. It was like still in the A group. Being like, there are multiple allergies on board, whatever. She zooms in. She's like, hello. Actually, sir, I also have a nut allergy. So could you, for the safety of us both, like, it is a 1-hour flight. Can I pump all of your drinks, alcoholic, non-alcoholic, whatever you want? Like, they're already giving us free sodas.
Right.
But, like, you can order whatever you want, however you want, on us, if you'll just, like, we are about to push back. And I was like, I don't want to inconvenience. At this point, I'm like, he's going to eat them anyways.
Yeah.
Like, I'm feeling I don't want to sit here anymore.
Right.
There are no other seats. Like, everybody is now buckled in, but craning their neck.
Right.
And I was like, I really don't want to disturb him. I really don't want to inconvenience him. Is there any way I can just bop back up to the friend? The flight attendant looks at me like, we don't have time. And she was like, are you okay to still sit here? And I was like, if he doesn't eat those, like, and like, I just didn't know what to say. I was stuck. And she was just like, okay, everybody sit down. Like, are you willing? And by this point, the wife goes, why are you being such a hole? To the husband.
Okay.
Why are you being such a jerk?
Yeah.
And now they're fighting.
Oh,
And I leaned forward one more time, and I was like, speaking just to her, by this point I'm ignoring her. I was like, I just really want to apologize for upsetting you guys. That was not my intention. I would have been happy to move. It is a life-threatening health condition, so it's pretty serious. Are we good? And she was like, I know. You need to not be such a jerk, but they're still fighting. So now we're pushing back. These people are fighting at like full volume. I spent the entire flight like completely white-knuckled, just like so worried. They were eating a lot of other snacks.
yeah.
And by the time I got off, it looked like shells of something they had like left behind. So I think they may have gone ahead and done it anyways.
Right.
I was fine. I definitely was like scared and flustered.
Yeah.
And I just like, all of those other comments were in the back of my head from most people being like, I'm afraid to speak up for myself and travel because I've been met with such unkindness. And I had just never experienced that. So yeah, the plane ride back, which was a week and a half later, I was weirdly anxious. Like, I don't get anxious to fly, but like the first half, all the anxiety symptoms that make you feel like, is this an allergy?
Yeah.
But I hadn't eaten or drinking. Like, I knew it wasn't allergies, but like my throat felt super tight. I was just like super on edge. And by the time we got here, like in the full hour flight, I was like chilling, reading my book.
Correct.
But yeah, it was
Horrible.
horrible.
Yeah.
And I have never experienced such a kindness like that.
I'm so sorry that happened. I mean, it's not funny at all, but it's almost like, what is wrong? I mean,
Truly, what happened to you?
I don't feel bad for this man. He's clearly an asshole, but like, also, what is so wrong in your life that you have to be that big of an ass to a random person who's telling you about their life-threatening?
Yeah. So right before that happened, I'm like telling the new passengers around me, this man from across the aisle overhears me just speak to the people behind me. And he's like, hey, I just want to check in. I like overheard you about your allergy. I have a cheese Danish. Do you think that's okay? And I was like, that is so kind.
Yeah.
He was like, I just heard allergy. And I just wondered, what kind of allergy? I was like, it's a nut allergy. Cheese Danish is A-okay. Thanks so much for asking. But it just like full body chills. I was like, thank you for recognizing also that it's not just like I have nut allergy privilege for sure. Like people, I don't even think goldfish could be harmful. Right. Like people, yeah. So I get it. As somebody who lives this life, I sometimes still forget.
Yeah.
I'm not opening something with dairy on a plane thinking like I should ask around if there's especially a kid around me.
Yeah. But when people do, you're like, gosh.
But that was like literally within 5 seconds of that man saying that, there was that. And so it was just like such a dichotomy of ways to respond.
Right.
And I hadn't even spoken to that man directly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He probably knows somebody in his life with allergies.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to guess, I feel like that provides that layer of empathy that you might not otherwise have.
He was this big, muscular guy, and the guy was like freaking out. Right before the stewardess interjected, he was like getting ready to stand up. I was like doing this, like looking around. Yeah. So just like such a good, it was such an unfortunate experience, but also to see somebody
step up.
Yeah. Like being such an ally, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. An advocate when it's not even you.
Oof. Well, I hope that never ever happens to you again. I hope that never happens to anybody out there because that is terrifying. But also, like, another indicator that even if they did go ahead and eat things or whatever, like, thankfully you were okay.
Yes. And that's when I was like white knuckling all the way to El Paso. I just kept thinking in my head all of the things that I've worked on with my therapist and talked about with my allergist. Like, even if they do, like, you may have a little mild something, but neither of them, like my allergist is not concerned about anaphylaxis from airborne. You are okay.
Yeah.
You are okay. It's just like kept repeating that to myself and reading my book, and I'm also okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's lighten the mood.
Yes. And today you are invited.
You're invited.
We're talking about basically anytime you get an invitation anywhere, but particularly a party. So
a celebration.
For food allergy parents, I mean, that's like your child gets invited to a birthday party or even just like a play date at somebody's house. And then for you, obviously, you're doing like fun social things.
Yeah, our own like birthday parties, potluck dinners, birthday dinners, weddings, bachelorette parties.
Yeah.
If you're away, sometimes in a different country. Right. I mean, that adds a whole other layer. And alcohol.
Yeah.
Like people are making funny decisions when you mess around with their judgment. So
yeah, my goodness. So we're going to get into, the nitty gritty of like what to do before you go to the party. And then also like when you're there and things arise or whatever it may be, like how we handle that.
Yeah. Like mindset going into it.
Yes.
As well as anything. Yeah.
So you actually have something coming up, right?
Yeah, I'm going to Cabo in July. I'm going to Cabo for one of my very best friends. She's my little in my sorority, Talan. 10 years later, and I'm still brainwashed. But she's one of my very, very best friends, and she is turning 31, I believe, or 30. I don't know. Sorry, Kimberly. And I mean, at this point, when you have not had a bachelorette and you have celebrated the heck out of everybody's bridal things and baby things, you're like, will I ever get to like do that? And she's essentially throwing herself almost like a bachelorette.
Yeah, she should.
For her birthday. And I'm so excited.
Yeah.
We're going on a catamaran. We're staying in this stunning villa. My parents are concerned about the mafia, but it'll be so much fun.
Of course. Yeah. So in my head, I'm thinking like, I mean, eating out is one thing, but eating out in like an entirely other country is another, where like the healthcare system is different. I mean, so I'm picturing you with like your suitcase and then a second suitcase of food.
No, that's totally me. So every time I've ever traveled internationally, I always have in a suitcase like a lot of safe snacks. But yeah, I always am taking like granola bars, fruit snacks, just like things that I know are going to tide me over. Even though I'm in Provence, it looks like I'm going camping.
Yeah.
And I haven't traveled internationally since before the pandemic. And since a lot of that like sort of meshed together to really raise my anxiety, and then you add the OIT in it, like I'm in a much different place than I was the last time I traveled.
Yeah.
For a big trip.
But I feel really lucky because her sister-in-law also has a severe peanut and tree nut allergy.
Okay, so they're more familiar.
Yes, she is a big foodie.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to let her eat things first.
Yeah, and watch. There you go. Well, that's really helpful. If you have another friend who's like not maybe had things that have caused anxiety for them.
Yeah, I'm like fully transparent. I am feeling nervous about it, but it's similar to my airplanes. When I stopped flying for that, most of 2020, I didn't fly at all.
Yeah.
I don't think I flew at all for 2020 actually. And so when you get out of the habit of it, the first couple times you do it again, it's like,
right.
And I'm sure I'll snap back to where I used to be. So I'm just looking at it as an opportunity to go back to being as comfortable, of course, with my things that I do to keep myself safe, but
you're still accepting this invitation to go, which I think is a huge deal. And
I never say no. I never say no to an opportunity.
There you go.
An adventure.
Fun fun.
Especially a party at a beach at a villa. But something like, gosh, my friend is the sweetest ever, and obviously she knows my allergies and my anxiety struggles, and her sister-in-law, obviously she knows about her experience allergies, and so she is the most detailed person ever, but she sent out a sheet of put in your arriving, your departing flight times, numbers, all of our personal information with the house of 10 people that it will be. And there was a column for do you have any allergies? Do you have any food allergies?
How sweet.
Yeah, so it was really nice that she already put that on there, and now other people know who don't know me going on the trip that not one but two girls don't bring nuts.
Right. I think that's something too that's helpful for like you said, sometimes when you have allergies, you're not even thinking about either other people's allergies or whatever. I think about whether it's a birthday party or an invitation like this, it's a good reminder to always put that sort of stuff on your invitations, or if you're someone listening who doesn't have allergies. I mean, that right there is if you're throwing anything, whether it's a villa party in Cabo, or if it's your child's birthday party, just that simple thing of putting a mention in the invitation that says, hey, does anybody have allergies? We're more than happy to accommodate and make sure you're safe, goes the longest way.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I host a book club with my friend. She's going to the cabana today.
Oh, nice.
And she invited friends, and I invited friends, and then those friends started inviting friends. So there's a lot of different girls, and it's a different crew every week. Mm-hmm. And one of the girls who I had only ever met once ever, she was a friend of a friend of a friend. She was I just baked cookies. I need them out of the house. I can't stop eating them, and I'm going to bring them. But before I do, just wanted to check in and make sure, see if anybody had any food allergies. And I texted her on the side and was I don't know if you know this, but I actually have a very severe peanut and tree nut allergy, and that means the world that you even asked that question. And she was oh my gosh, put it in the group chat. And I was I have peanut allergy. And she was they're peanut, I'm not bringing them. So so just it doesn't even need to be super formal or every thing. Example, the Cabo thing, it's do you want to pay for golfing? Do you want a facial? Do you have food allergies? Are you good to go to dinner here on this day? It was just roll. It's one of the things.
Right.
It doesn't have to be this big thing.
Right. Yes. And just it just goes so far in terms of showing that you care about the people you're inviting. And if you're hosting something and inviting people to something, shouldn't we then be caring about the people that we're inviting?
Yes. Let me make sure that you're safe in my home or where I've had the celebration. But that isn't the norm, if I'm honest. For me, that is definitely not the norm.
No.
So
for birthday parties either, even I'm seeing it more.
Oh, really?
It's not more common than it's not. You know what I mean? I would say I get more invitations that don't mention allergies than do.
Okay, so Graham gets a thing in the mail. Graham, you're invited to Lisa's birthday party. Walk me through your process.
Yeah, and I think we touched on it a little bit in the previous episode, but I mean, long story short, I usually, if I don't know them at all, I'll usually reach out and just say, hey, Graham is really excited to come to this party. Thank you so much for inviting us. I'm not sure if you're aware, but he has allergies, severe allergies to X, Y, and Z. I was wondering if you could let me know what you're planning to serve, and that way I am prepared and can bring alternatives, backups, so that he, can be included and safe. Usually that then spurs another conversation of like, and I know right then and there, right, like how they respond to that is like how comfortable I'm going to be going.
Have you ever, like, what's an example of something where you're like, actually, so sorry, we can't make it anymore? Have you ever done that?
No, I think there was one instance where I wish I had.
Okay.
But because it was, again, the response was like, okay. And we're having pizza. And that was it. Like, and I had said, dairy allergy. And again,
You're not saying serve something else for your child's birthday.
No. Their favorite thing might be pizza. They might not have a lot of money to think of or time and energy to think of or buy something different. Like pizza is a great party thing.
Kids love it.
Of course, and it's cheap and easy and it can be delivered. Like I get it. I am not like, my child's coming and I told you they had a dairy allergy, so you're gonna need to rearrange the entire menu. Like, of course not. I would never think that, but like most people would be like, oh gosh, we're having pizza. Is there anything I can get for your child, or is there anything you like? Sometimes they'll be like, should we serve it at a like different time? And we did that when he was little, like whenever he was kind of more like touching things, putting things in his mouth kind of age. We would just leave before something like pizza was served and be like, oh, it's time to go. But in this case now, he's pretty used to like, oh, I have a dairy allergy, I can't have pizza. Like I'm sure it's a bummer, like in his head, but he's not overly upset like when he can't have pizza.
Okay, so as a non-kid person, my immediate thought is like, but then, I mean, I'm going so granular. I'm like, okay, Dad has picked up pizza probably before. Maybe we can put it in like a warming tray or like in a bag. Then Dad probably hasn't washed his hands and now he's touching all the decorations or the toys that my kid is going to touch. Maybe we should go.
Yeah.
Do you ever have those thoughts?
I don't. I think that it's because I lean on, I mean, I do. That's a lie. I do in the sense that it crosses my mind. It doesn't scare me to the point of not going because I think, again, like I lean on having looked at research and data that shows that like the chances of Graham having a severe reaction to that element of like contact reaction is probably very slim. I will say like if they are home making the food and I can't be sure that like they didn't accidentally drop peanut or put butter in something, like we're never going to have the food. You know what I mean? But in terms of him playing with a toy that the dad touched or something, like it's kind of like I always go back to, but like that's the same situation everywhere. Like every public place we've ever been, people have touched that railing with their food hands. Yeah. So like I'm not going to keep him from enjoying a kid's birthday party for that. Now, am I going to be extremely vigilant and watching him and scanning his body silently, in the background? Yes, absolutely, the whole time. But no, I still move forward. Like we still attend the party and let him have fun. But definitely, like there are people who have said, like, we're happy to serve the pizza later, or we're having to have people wash their hands after, or they'll simply ask, like, what would make you feel comfortable? And that, I think, would be my biggest piece of advice to someone who's like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Like, it would be like, just ask. Just ask. Because, like, everyone's level of worry is different.
And also, like, a lot of the times when people are trying to accommodate me, and they're like, oh, I can do this. And I'm like, it's even a worse idea. Like, I know they're trying to be helpful. So, honestly, for me, the biggest green flag is for them being like, what works best? Like, you tell me, and we'll figure it out.
Right. And so I mean, again, and I don't ever expect somebody to rearrange their plans. I just want to know, like my goal in reaching out beforehand is just to understand what the party's going to be, make sure I have something to where my kid feels like he's a part of the party and he's not being completely left out. And just get a gut feeling, like a gut check on, like, is this person going to be helpful or just even like empathetic and kind, or are they kind of not into it? Like, are they the guy on the airplane who's just going to be like, my individual liberties are more important? And I'm like, okay, like, well then if that's the case, I'll bring Graham to laser tag and we'll have fun.
Okay. Like, what about parties that have like like kids are snackers. At least I was, still am. Like snack trays everywhere. Maybe they aren't serving the pizza until later, but there's food everywhere. And like, are you ever worried? And this is not just parties, this is like school too. Like, how do you manage like kids being like, here, you try a bite, or like the whole like sharing thing?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
So confusing.
I know. I think the biggest thing is like preparing your child. I mean,
when they're little though?
Yes.
How do you do
I
that?
mean, as little as possible. So we had a couple of phrases that we would say. So one being no label, no way. So and Graham used to love saying it when he was little. I think I have a video. I need to like find a video, but he would be like, no label, no way. It was like a chant,
cute.
like no way, like he would want to yell it. And for us, that was really good because again, the snack tray idea, right? Like he knew from like literal, like since the time he could talk, that like if we don't see a box, if mommy doesn't look at the back of the box and say, yep, this is good for you, like you cannot have it. Mm-hmm. That's just it's off the table, no way. So I think like learning things like that from like the very, very beginning of his life. And then also like always ask before you try something new is another mantra that we use. So like, again, if he's not familiar with it, if it's not something I packed or brought, he needs to ask me first. Mm-hmm. And he knows that. And then on top of that, he just really does know his allergies. Like we taught him from a very young age, like this is what you're allergic to. And he can tell you, you know.
So have you ever had any like reactions, even mild ones, at a birthday party? That like a newer parent listening can be like,
yeah,
this is possible or not.
Yeah, we've had plenty of like skin type of reaction. So when he was younger, before we started treatment, he was really sensitive upon contact to his allergens. So like we really couldn't go anywhere in public at all ever without him having like some either like more like an eczema flare or hives. So we just got really used to, again, like desensitized to having that happen. And we would always have wipes or like, you know, be near our bathroom, we have to like wipe it down, like clear his skin of whatever was being the irritant, and then having like hydrocortisone cream or
you have the whole
with
you.
Whole kit. Yes. And just using that, and again, just like keeping a close eye. But I just always remind myself, like, and don't get me wrong, I get really down and out about it. Like I'll go home and I specifically remember a birthday party that we went to, and it was probably 2 years ago, maybe. So Graham would have been, I mean, like 3.5, 4, like probably 4, maybe like maybe 4. And we went, and it was a bounce house, and we served pizza. And I knew it because, you know, I knew the mom from like daycare. I'd asked before. I knew they were going to have pizza, and he was still very contact reactive at that time. And so they went and got the pizza, and she said she would like serve it a little later, but it like got there earlier or something. So it was like delivered earlier than expected. And she was like going to put it to the side, but like the birthday boy saw it, and he was like, I don't want pizza. And again, like totally understandable, like as the mom, you're like, it's literally his party, he sees the pizza, like it's time to eat the pizza. But to me, a bounce house, like enclosed quarters, everyone's bouncing, like touching.
Yeah.
But we weren't close enough for me to really want to say like everyone has to go wash their hands after. Plus that party was specifically outside, so she didn't want a bunch of kids running inside her house. Like again, trying to be understanding of that.
All totally normal for a normal situation, and all you're like, this is a end of party for your situation.
Yeah. And so I like they started kind of eating pizza, and I had brought his own little lunch, you know, for him to have snacks. So like, first of all, I was like, go, Graham, go jump, you know, but he was like, well, nobody's in here because everyone was starting to eat, right? But I'm like, I know you need to get jump time because we're gonna have to like leave because people aren't gonna wash their hands, and we're gonna have all sorts of issues. Plus, again, your face might hit hit where something, and so then it's like not just contact, it's like in your mouth, it's like being ingested, and anyway, so he jumped for a little bit by himself, and then he came, and him and I sat together eating his snacks while like the whole party was like, it's so hard as a mom to like you know, you're putting on a face all the time. Like, you know, you're trying to just act like nothing's going on, you know, like everything's fine. We're just, mommy and grandma are just having a little picnic, you know, and like you're working so hard to cover up your emotions because you don't want him to feel bad.
Like
or
this
sad.
is a sad time.
Right.
This is I'm othered.
Yes. And, you know, that's my entire goal is to make sure he's happy, you know, and so but it breaks your heart. Like you're sitting on the side away from the group, having a little picnic, and then he wanted to go back in. They all started going back into the jump house, and I wasn't ready I wasn't as seasoned of an allergy mom. And so, and because he had contact reactions, because of what I just said about the jump house dynamic, I just wasn't comfortable. I didn't have it in me to like take that calculated risk.
But also, it could have, I mean, you were listening to your intuition. Like,
Right.
Even if you were a more seasoned allergy mom, at that place where he wasn't in treatment and so contact reactive, it might have still didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone started jumping again, and he wanted to run back in there. And it was like a time when I had to say, like, I'm sorry, honey, it's time to go. And I don't ever want to say, like, it's because of your allergies. But, like, it was. And it was fairly obvious even to a 4-year-old. And I just had to explain, like, oh, maybe they have so much cheese on their hand. And how about you and I go do something, like, really fun? We'll do whatever you want. And, like, you know, he got over it really quick, but he was upset. And I remember my mom was visiting, and she was home with Ethan because I had just brought Graham myself, and Mark was doing something, I can't remember. And I got home, and it was like that moment of like when you can be a kid yourself. Like I had to be a mom for so much of my life. I am a mom. I'm like shielding my own emotions from my son. And then I got to come home, and it was really nice because I just like leaned into her.
Yeah.
And I just got to be vulnerable and be taken care of. Yeah. And it was what I needed, but I mean, clearly years later, I'm still upset about it.
I think that's so telling though. It's like you can make such strides, and you can be in such a different place, and you can be so much more seasoned, and your child can be thriving, and it can like this is actual trauma. Like this sticks to you.
It does. It really does. And I mean, I know it probably ultimately hurt me more than it even hurt him. He probably would never in a million years remember that day. And we have come a long way. But like people also ask like, why are you spending so much money on treatment and flying to California and doing all these things? And that's a very complicated question, but also like this, like that's why. I could not handle doing that his whole life. And it was only going to get harder. It was only every year, and it has. I mean, like the whole birthday party, we've talked about how his latest birthday party would be this like gigantic cake, you know, because it got to the point where the last couple birthday parties he's been to, and he can't have the monster truck cake, and it actually bothers. Like he, at one point, had a party recently, it was just like a gathering at somebody's house, or maybe it was a kid's birthday, I can't remember, but it was more just like a bunch of people getting together. I think that because it was a baby turning whatever age, and he went himself and went up to the host and asked like, is this cake safe? And they were like, oh no, you know, it has milk. And like he turned his head down and like started crying and walking away. And he got over it very quick, but it's starting to bother him more as he gets older. And we had a treat, you know, like it all was fine, but like it just like that constant being told no, or like having something different, like it's going to build for him. Even if I'm doing everything right as a mom, like it is still really hard. And like a lot of people would say, like it's building his character, like it's, you know, he's getting a thick skin, like he's going to be able to handle so many things in his life, and you know, everybody has their things, and all of these things that I just said are so true. It doesn't mean that it's not really freaking hard.
And it's not fair.
It's not
At
fair.
32, I am still sometimes driving away from events where people are like, oh, you didn't eat? Or I'm still starving after, whether it's like South by or like a bunch of events or someone's wedding or
Dinner.
having to say no
Yeah.
to what I'm going out afterwards because I am so hungry, my vision is blurring. Like, I know I need to get out of there and get home to eat something, otherwise I'm not going to be okay to drive soon. Like, and there's like still that moment as an adult who's had to be told no to a lot of things of like feeling sad, feeling grief, feeling like this isn't fair, feeling like I just want to go to sleep. I need to go to sleep. I need to get ready and go to sleep because I can't deal with another no today.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even gonna I can process it tomorrow. I'm not even gonna read tonight. I'm just gonna go to bed because I'm so fed up with being told no.
Yeah.
And being left out.
Yeah, you're right. It's like something we carry with us, and it like builds up,
And nobody knows.
No,
My
it's
own
silent.
family doesn't even know.
Yep, it's completely, like an invisible trauma. It's
Like how many times people say like, oh, would you like XYZ, this appetizer, this dinner, this cake? And I said, no, I'm good.
yeah,
And I'm so not good.
Yeah.
I could have $1 million if I just got like $1 for every time that happened.
right. Yeah, I mean, parties with allergies are just hard. Like being invited, it's never easy. It's never like a simple yes or no, or like yes, you just like send your kid just goes to a birthday party, or you just go to a party. Like there's always evaluations, there's always questions, there's always many decisions to be made.
And once you're there and you've done everything, you're still scanning and like clocking the thing of walnuts on the table and clocking
Who's touched them?
Yes, clocking that one of the desserts is in like a nutty bar. And clocking that like I'm gonna have to maybe Irish goodbye because I'm wearing a strapless dress and all the grandmas have touched this walnutty, nutty bar tart thing and they're gonna want to hug me goodbye, and like it's either hugs on the way home or worrying about getting hugs on the way home. I have to go, so sorry, I have to get going, like wave from the door and run.
Yeah. I think this is an entirely other episode that we can talk about later, but part of like being invited, I feel like it's not just birthday parties. Like something that comes to mind for me is family gatherings, like say for the holidays or whatnot. Like, I mean, whether it's 4th of July, Christmas or something, but like, I think maybe you saying like aunties or grandmas made me think like of the times that we've been visiting home in Louisiana and invited to an aunt or uncle's house or whatever relative, and that's a thing that you have to consider too in terms of like, how do I go into this situation? Like, do I just go without saying anything with my guard up and ready to kind of quick leave if I need to, or kind of just navigate on that day, or do I reach out to the aunt or uncle who's maybe older and not going to really understand anyway? Like sometimes I have to weigh the like, is it worth it to even reach out beforehand? With older people, I think that can be difficult with like generational. I'm preaching to the choir right now because I know even your own parents like have taken a little bit to come around.
Yeah.
And still
I'll say the
ways to go.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, we've had situations where we've gone to a party, and thankfully most of our family members are really, really good about it.
Yeah.
A lot of people I talk to online know that is not the case, and we do have a few not so good. And thankfully, Mark's mom has told her side of the family for gatherings, like, we're not going to have anything that Graham's allergic to. Sometimes they still bring it in a Tupperware, and they just like sit it on the counter, and Mark's mom like will just put it away. Like she'll just like move it to her fridge, which I'm really thankful for. And even now, like I said, we're actually okay to be around it now, especially like with how old he is, treatment, like all of the things. But the fact that she's mindful of that is really, really great. So I think my advice here would be try to explain and influence the people closest to you first and the most, like, so that you have like an ally on your side to like help you when you go into these situations with those extended family members. And when we have had stuff that he's allergic to, like, set out on the counter, I just am really on my guard and watching everything.
That's something,
Can't
even
relax.
though like that he is okay, I know that I've been in countless social situations where I'm okay, it's out there, but I'm okay. It doesn't mean, just because I'm okay, doesn't mean I'm okay. Like, I am 30% there.
Yeah.
Because the rest of me is, I'm seeing who is touching the bowl of pistachios, and who am I gonna have to wash my hands right after if they shake my hand, and like making sure that if my dog is there, he's not picking something up that now I'm gonna be allergic to him, having to crate him, and he can't sleep with me in my bed because what if he licks me in the middle of the night? Like, it's an endless, it's exhausting.
It's so
a lot of the times I'm just like, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go. It's too hard.
Yeah.
I don't want to go. My family is really close, so we have a modern family. So when my older half-sister, who we did a lot of holidays with, moved away to a different city a couple years ago, we started going to my parents' church family's home, like all of their Bible study or whatever, friends from church. And that has been, holidays are not great. Like, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Because they don't understand, and then they're very sweet people, and they want to ask questions, but then I'm spending the entire Easter brunch where I was really just going to have a mimosa at the table, or like bring my own little thing, and like rinse the dish maybe if it looked sus, and put my own thing in the dish. Like, there's all these different ways that I've done it, but like they're still going to notice that it's different, and they're still going to ask a lot of questions, and now I've spent Easter explaining something that ad nauseum I don't want to explain anymore because you don't understand. I don't want to hear how you think that it's not a thing, or ask me questions that I don't know. I'm not an MD, and even the MDs don't know. I don't know why my body is like this. I don't know why I have an immune system that doesn't work like your normal people's immune systems. Like, I don't know, and I want to leave now because I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I have to go. Yeah, and then my parents are like, oh, you seem a little grumpy, and I'm like, I gotta go for a walk.
This wasn't enjoyable for me, but thanks. I mean, but then again, you don't want to be like ungrateful, you know?
And I'm such a social person. Like, I get energy from people. Textbook extrovert right here. I guess for a lot of the parties, like, we've talked about this before, but like, I am backtracking to where I used to be. Like, untangling. I know that as long as I don't eat something, I have always been safe. I might have to wash my hands or get a little better, whatever. I might have a situation, but I know I'm okay as long as I don't ingest something. And I have said no to parties where if they're serving Chick-fil-A, I'm not going to that party. Like, I'm not. And I don't know, maybe that will change again, but I don't know. It's really tough for like adult parties, for weddings. Like, our last episode, we talked about like, what are your no's? My worst nightmare is to have a seriously bad situation happen at somebody else's big moment. A wedding, a birthday, or whatever. The attention is not supposed to be on me. I don't even want, it's okay if they don't remember that I was there. Like, that's the goal. So like, eating at a wedding, especially a buffet, but even a sit down, you have 400 people, half the people are drunk, the catering staff may be high schoolers, like, they may have made the food in a different kitchen and brought it in. Like, there are few times where I feel like I can actually eat at a wedding. So I, of course, like, have snacks in my bag. I've eaten a ton before, and I usually leave feeling pretty good because I have lack of calories. But like, even the little things that you don't think about, like if there's a cute groomsman and like, I know we would have smooched, but there was walnut in the salad and I know he ate the salad. Like, it does change a lot of things that, like, again, people may never know, even the people closest to me, like, they might not see the impact that has on me. My goal is always like, I love a party, I love celebrating, and I love getting dressed up,
I love people. So like my goal is always to not say no. But if I say no, it's a hard no, and it's because it's a real thing that I don't know this group of people that well, and I have a different invitation that I could go to, or I have this workout class that I'm really excited about, and I am like self-parenting. Like when you're like, Graham, let's whatever you want, we could go do. I do that in my own life when it is for whatever reason and no. The birthday girl chooses an Indian restaurant, and there's going to be curries all over the place, or whatever it is. But I've never said no to a wedding because of a food allergy reason. I've said no to like big gatherings that I don't really care about.
Yeah.
If it's like the things that I really care about are my close group of friends.
Yeah.
And they're gonna go above and beyond to not make it. But I'm almost always packing my own food. Like my friend had a DIY sushi making night, and she was like, Japanese, like you're good, right? And I'm like, oh, maybe. I'm probably gonna make my own just because like cooking utensils, I don't know, your boyfriend is in peanut butter, like whatever. It's just easier this way. She's like, whatever you want. Thank goodness I did, because they bought the sushi at Whole Foods, and of course the label is like, may contain peanuts, walnut. I got every allergen in the book. They're just covering their asses.
Yeah. Oh man, I will say with close friends, you're right. Like that's an entirely different thing for me too. Like I have a few close friends who will go above and beyond.
I feel like I don't want to eat something they've made though. Do
you? We have allowed it a couple times, but I'm talking like there are maybe 2 or 3 families that I've ever let them prepare something for him, and they know we've got to rewash the dish with like a fresh sponge. We've got to, they're going like above it.
Yeah, those are the things where like I don't want to explain or have people do for me. Like they don't understand the fresh sponge, they don't understand the fresh dish. My parents still think I'm nuts for rewashing every wine glass that I ever use at home. Like, nobody gets it.
Nobody does it unless they just do.
Like, unless they have known what it feels like to have impending doom and oh my god, something's happening and am I gonna need to use the EpiPen?
Or like, I think for me, I'm very lucky that a lot of my closest friends follow me on my food allergy Instagram page, and so they see and know what I go through because I post about it, and so they know like all the steps, or they'll just ask like, what do I need to do to make sure that he can have this? And they'll, rewash the bowl with a fresh sponge. They'll check they'll save every label of everything. They'll show me the seasoning label. Everything that I would do personally in my own home.
But yes, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.